Have you ever wondered why, even in our modern world filled with scientific discoveries, advanced technologies, and endless information, people still believe in God? You might think that faith is something of the past, a relic of ancient ignorance, a crutch for the uneducated or the weak. But you'd be wrong. In fact, belief in God remains one of the most widespread and persistent phenomena in human history. Over 80% of the global population today identifies with some form of religious faith. And millions more are spiritual in other ways. Why is that? Is it simply tradition, social conditioning, or is there something deeper? Something profound that keeps humanity looking upward, searching for the divine? In this video, we'll take a deep dive into this fascinating question. We'll explore the historical roots, psychological needs, cultural pressures, personal experiences, and even philosophical arguments that make faith so enduring. And by the end, you might just see belief, and maybe even your own life, in a whole new light. Let's begin. Classical Building. Part 1. The Ancient Roots of Faith. Long before skyscrapers, smartphones, and space travel, our ancestors looked up at the stars and asked the same questions we ask today. Who am I? Why am I here? Where did all this come from? In the ancient world, humans lived in close contact with nature. They saw storms, floods, famines, and miraculous harvests. With no scientific framework to explain these events, they turned to stories, myths, and gods to make sense of their world. Lightning wasn't just a natural phenomenon, it was the anger of Zeus. The sun wasn't a giant ball of burning gas, it was the chariot of Apollo. These early religious stories weren't just primitive science. They were communal narratives that bound people together. They gave meaning to life and death, and provided moral codes that guided behavior. As societies grew, religions became more organized, temples were built, priesthoods formed, rituals codified. Religion wasn't just a personal belief anymore, it was the foundation of entire civilizations. Consider ancient Egypt. The entire society revolved around the afterlife, with elaborate burial practices and massive pyramids as gateways to eternity. Or think of Mesopotamia, where kings ruled by divine mandate. In all these cases, faith wasn't optional, it was life itself. Brain. Part 2. The psychological need for God. Fast forward to today, we have science to explain weather, disease, and even the origins of the universe. So why do we still feel the need to believe? Psychologists suggest that humans are wired for belief. We seek patterns, look for agency, and crave meaning. When you hear a noise in the dark, your brain immediately imagines an agent, a person or creature, rather than assuming it's just the wind. This tendency, known as hyperactive agency detection, may have evolved to protect us from predators. But it also makes us prone to believe in invisible agents, like spirits or gods. Then there's the need for comfort. Life is unpredictable and often cruel. We lose loved ones. We face sickness and death. Belief in God provides a cosmic safety net, someone or something that is in control, that cares for us, that offers hope beyond this life. Numerous studies have shown that religious people often report higher levels of psychological well-being, lower levels of anxiety, and greater resilience in the face of trauma. Faith can serve as a psychological anchor, keeping people grounded when everything else seems to fall apart. Houses. Part 3. The Power of Culture and Community. Beyond individual psychology, belief in God is deeply intertwined with culture and community. From birth, most people are surrounded by religious symbols, rituals, and stories. A child born into a Muslim family in Indonesia, a Catholic family in Brazil, or a Hindu family in India will naturally absorb those beliefs as part of their identity. It's not just about doctrine, it's about family traditions, festivals, food, music, and community support. Religious communities provide powerful social networks. They celebrate together, mourn together, and support each other during crises. Leaving such a community isn't just a matter of changing an intellectual belief. It can mean losing your social world, your support system, even your sense of self. This is why many people continue to believe, even if they have doubts. Faith is woven into the fabric of their lives, not just a box they tick on a census form. Milky Way. Part 4. Personal Experiences of the Divine. Beyond cultural and psychological factors, Many people point to deeply personal experiences as the foundation of their faith. These can take many forms: a miraculous healing, an overwhelming sense of peace during prayer, a sudden insight in nature, or a dream that changes the course of a life. Skeptics might dismiss these as hallucinations or emotional overflows. But to those who experience them, they are as real as any physical event. Countless people describe moments where they feel a presence beside them in their darkest hour, guiding them, comforting them. For many, these encounters with the divine are beyond argument. They become the bedrock of their belief. A person who has experienced what they perceive as God's touch will not be easily swayed by abstract arguments or scientific data. In fact, these experiences often ignite a lifelong passion, transforming people into compassionate, courageous, and devoted individuals. Light Bulb, Part 5. Philosophical Arguments for Belief. But belief isn't just about feelings and culture. Over the centuries, some of the greatest minds have proposed logical arguments for the existence of God. The cosmological argument states that everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. Therefore, it must have a cause beyond itself. This uncaused cause is called God. The teleological argument, or the argument from design, points to the fine-tuning of the universe. The laws of physics, the constants of nature, all appear exquisitely calibrated to allow life. This suggests intentional design rather than blind chance. The moral argument asserts that objective moral values exist. We all feel that some things are truly right or wrong, not just personal preferences. If objective morality exists, there must be a moral lawgiver beyond humanity. The ontological argument takes a more abstract route. If it's possible that a maximally great being exists, then it exists necessarily. While complex, this argument has fascinated philosophers for centuries. Though these arguments are debated, they show that faith isn't merely irrational. Many brilliant thinkers, from Thomas Aquinas to modern physicists like John Polkinghorne, have found belief in God both intellectually satisfying and existentially fulfilling. Telescope, Part 6. Science and Faith, Friends or Foes? A common narrative today is that science and religion are at war. But is that really true? Historically, many scientists were also deeply religious. Isaac Newton, Johannes Kepler, and Gregor Mendel, the father of genetics, all saw their work as revealing the order and beauty of God's creation. Modern scientists like Francis Collins, who led the Human Genome Project, openly profess their Christian faith. They see no contradiction between mapping DNA and believing in a divine creator. Science explains how things work, the mechanics of the universe. Religion often asks why they exist in the first place, the purpose behind the patterns. Far from being enemies, science and faith can complement each other. Science can inspire awe and wonder, feelings that naturally lead some people to contemplate the divine. Meanwhile, faith can provide a moral and existential framework within which to interpret scientific discoveries. Magnifying Glass, Part 7. The Search for Meaning and Purpose. Deep inside every human heart lies a burning question: why am I here? We all crave meaning, a sense that our lives matter, that our struggles and joys are part of a bigger story. Without God or any transcendent reality, some philosophers argue that life's meaning must be created entirely by the individual. But creating your own meaning can feel fragile and arbitrary. Faith offers an alternative. You are not an accident. You are created intentionally, loved unconditionally, and invited into a story far greater than yourself. This belief can give people the courage to endure suffering, the motivation to act selflessly, and the inspiration to dream big. It turns even mundane tasks into acts of devotion, and even suffering into opportunities for growth and redemption. Handshake, Part 8. The Role of Religion in Ethics and Morality. Some argue that religion is necessary to uphold morality in society. Of course, atheists and secular humanists can and do live moral lives. But religion offers a transcendent foundation for ethics, a reason why certain things are always wrong or always right, regardless of personal feelings or societal trends. If morality is purely subjective, it can change with time and culture. But if there is a higher moral law, then human rights, justice, and dignity have an unshakable foundation. Believers often point to religious teachings as sources of compassion. charity, and social justice. Think of hospitals, schools, orphanages, and relief organizations. Many were started by religious communities driven by their faith. Speech Balloon. Part 9. Personal stories from around the world. Let's move from theory to reality. A young woman in Syria loses her entire family in a bombing. In her deepest despair, she sees a vision of Jesus, who tells her she is loved and not alone. She finds strength to survive and eventually helps other war refugees rebuild their lives. A former gang member in Los Angeles has a spiritual awakening in prison. He turns his life around, dedicates himself to helping at-risk youth, and becomes a father figure to dozens of kids. A scientist in Japan, raised atheist, is moved to tears by the beauty of mathematical symmetry in nature. He begins to explore spirituality and eventually embraces belief in God. Stories like these, from every corner of the globe, illustrate how faith transforms lives in the most unexpected ways. It is not always about doctrines or rituals, it is about deep, personal encounters that change hearts and communities. Fire. Part 10. Why belief persists in the 21st century. Despite predictions that religion would disappear in the modern age, faith remains strong, even growing in some parts of the world. In Africa, Christianity and Islam are expanding rapidly. In Latin America, faith continues to shape politics and culture. Even in increasingly secular Europe, many young people are rediscovering spirituality as they search for purpose beyond material success. In a world of uncertainty, pandemics, climate change, and social upheaval, belief offers stability and hope. People are not just looking for facts, they're looking for meaning, connection, and ultimate answers to life's biggest questions. Conclusion. Should we still believe? So, should we still believe in God? That question cannot be answered by statistics or arguments alone. It is a deeply personal decision, shaped by our experiences, communities, cultures, and reflections. Yet, perhaps the most important point is this: belief in God is not simply about believing certain propositions are true. It is about a relationship with the divine, with ourselves, with the universe, and with each other. Faith invites us to see life as a gift, to treat others as sacred, and to find hope in the face of suffering. It challenges us to love radically, forgive deeply, and live purposefully. Maybe, just maybe, the persistence of belief is not a sign of human weakness, but of an eternal longing, a sign that we are made for something more. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this video meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be searching too. And let me know in the comments, do you believe? Why or why not? I'd love to hear your story. See you next time.